What is going on, everybody? Welcome back. It's Lex, and today we have a massive reaction for you guys. The return of Idubbbz and his Content Cop series here. And today they're going to be speaking about H3. Apparently they've been going through some sort of turmoil behind the scenes. Kind of Ethan trying to hold him accountable. Kind of picking sides here, and we're gonna go right into it and see what Idubbbz perspective it is. This is gonna be a long video, so if you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you subscribe. That really helps me out for a young content creator like myself. So without further ado, let's see what Idubbbz has to say.
The beach is surprisingly dangerous. Consider the
fucking thing in our defense, like, actually, Hila's not a baby killer.
By the way, the whole H3 situation going on has been crazy. I know they've been massive with the Israel and Palestine stuff that's been going on, and they definitely are, very like set forward on their ideas on it. So there's been a lot of conflict with relationships between them, especially with Hassan and the whole Leftovers podcast, and it being kind of like disbanded and stuff. But man, it's been a very serious case, that whole Israel-Palestine situation.
Actually, accusing Ethan of killing his dog is maybe too far, because they have mobilized such an insane harassment group.
Ethan's ticks.
That anybody who says any fucking thing, they will attempt to ruin their lives. And once again, I'm the crazy one. It's not bad enough that I have to...
Especially with this whole Israel-Palestine stuff, if you have any sort of take that's different from other people, they will do everything they can. Especially if you're a big content creator like that, they will definitely do everything in the power to shut down your voice. In this, I feel like in this country we have the freedom to speak freely. We should have the ability to it, but I feel like there's also consequences to that could be major to an individual.
What we do here is go back.
Freaking Idubbbz. By the way, I didn't grow up watching Content Cop. I just kind of blindly heard about it here and there. That is too small, man. I respect the cigarette. I respect it. By the way, look at the cabin, dude. What kind of cabin is that? Is that kind of just a vacation cabin? That's kind of sick. I really love the aesthetic of that. Oh, damn. Paul Balls? Jesus Christ. Putting on yourself? Okay, a little self-harm before you know. Damn, Hassan.
What's up, everybody? I'm Hassan
Ethan's
Piker,
arch nemesis,
coming to you live from
Ethan's arch nemesis, friend turned enemy. Once again, once again, look at the whole Trisha Paytas situation as well. A friend turned enemy because of political warfare. Politics will break up families, friends, everything, bro. I'm telling you, that is the truth and the reality of it. You pick a side of the fence that you on, and you're gonna defend that. It is super hard,
a cloudy day here in California, Los Angeles. We're live and alive, and I hope all the boys, girls, and MBs are having a fantastic one because today's a beautiful day. I have a very important announcement. I finally done it. I watched Ethan Klein's Content Nuke, and I'm not going to call it Context Puke as I normally do, because the reality of the matter is it was brilliant. Nothing was out of context. Everything was correct. I am an Islamist, fundamentalist, radical terrorist. I am a vicious anti-Semite.
I don't know where Hassan falls in the political spectrum. Like, is he as far left as you can be? Like past the socialist? I don't understand. I think he's like super far left leaning, correct? Like that's where he is. He's past the woke movement, correct? Like if I don't really know where he's at. I have been stopping watching. I kind of watch more Destiny than anything, so that's kind of where I lay. I think his is more left, like more left centered, whatever. But I think Hassan is kind of past the left barometer, right? If I would say that correctly.
Right, it's true. Most importantly, Ethan is more attractive than me, both physically and also mentally. I've been lying about everything. including my glasses. They're fake. He was
So
right
he's definitely
about
not
that.
taking
That's
this
not
serious,
even in
right?
the content nuke, and he was right about that too.
He's not
How
gonna
did
take
he
it
know
serious.
everything? How?
Not even addressing it. Just kind of like one-off comments here.
Wake up, Ethan. Wake up, Ethan. Ethan, wake up.
Man, Hassan's a handsome guy.
Wakey,
Undeniable.
Ethan. Wake up, Ethan. Wake
And
up.
by the way, I heard Idubbbz had a super massive relationship with H3, and for him to do that, what a massive stab in the back, massive political stab in the back. You know, that is something that I do find, and how that might be hurtful and stuff, and especially teaming up with the enemy, quote unquote, the enemy Hassan. I can only imagine how that must have felt like. It's pretty crazy.
Time to be awake, Ethan.
Wake up, Ethan.
This is no longer a dream. This is a nightmare.
And making a content cop or the return of the content cop against Ethan, crazy.
Wake up,
Ethan, wake up.
wake up, Ethan.
These are political enemies.
Wake up. Wake up. Since anyone? Just wake up.
Wake up.
Wake up.
Wake up.
Wake up, Ethan.
I'm not gonna do a react content yet, chat.
I'm the same. Nobody's told you to wake up, Ethan.
Dude, I want to talk about Zins. Zins is like, they freaking, I don't know what it is, but they start my acid reflux, dude. Like, I try Zins and it's just like, it fucking like, it like hurts my throat. I don't know what happens to the like saliva in my throat, but it irritates my throat. Like, I don't know how people enjoy that crap. I'm not saying I'm not against nicotine or anything like that, but I'm just saying, like, for people to like, they be putting like 3 or 4 pouches in their mouth, and man, I've tried one and it just hurts.
What's up, Ramos?
Time to wake up, Ethan. Wake up.
Ethan.
Oh my god, what the hell?
Wake up, Ethan. Just wake up.
All right.
Holy crap.
I didn't plan on making a content cop on H3. It sounds very stupid even saying that. H3 content cop, Idubbbz, Ethan Klein.
What do you mean you didn't plan on doing it? Then who did you plan on doing it? You got your friend and you got political differences. You said, you know what, this is the easiest way to return.
Out of control. And then you should do a content cop on Hassan Piker. Content cop on Sargon of Akkad. If I would imagine this in 2016, I would have been like, oh yeah, if I ever do that, it's gotta be because I lose the plot. Well, it turns out it's not me losing the plot, it's Ethan. He's the one.
Weren't content cops not driven by political stances? They were driven by like individuals where he had disagreements with them or he was being critical of their content. Isn't that the whole like aspect of what this whole thing is made out of, right? Like he was critical of many different creators, but I guess now it's kind of drowned in political fucking discourse, I guess.
Who fucking attacked first.
My good fucking friends who I stood by after all these fucking years can't find a spine to speak up.
So go fuck yourself.
I agree.
All right, guys, I'm going to tell you a story about Ethan Klein.
Yeah, what's that
I know
about?
some of you have been following him, but there's a lot of people
That's
who
a
might not
low-quality
be
image.
familiar with the background, with his podcast, with what's been going
Get
on
to
over
it,
the
get to
past
it.
couple of years. So Ethan, as you know, is a content creator who has a podcast where he says all sorts of outrageous stuff. Sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's fucked up. He's had shows with all sorts of different controversial characters. He's had a show with Trisha Paytas. He's had a show
Dude,
with Hassan
that
Piker.
Trisha show and the beginning iteration of the Breaking Leftovers podcast, amazing. The thing about H3 is they start really high and then all of a sudden personalities start to clash, and I think that's due to like Ethan's ability to have his own self evaluation of his morals and ethics, and sometimes people kind of maybe get into conflicts between them. From what I get, Ethan is not a guy who's just gonna abandon his ethics and morals so quickly. He will defend himself, he will articulate himself, and he will have evidence and proof to all that, which is something that I find commendable and respectable as a content creator. That is something that I want to achieve and want to do eventually, down the road, to be like an unstoppable force. But I do see in a lot of his relationships that there is that conflict between them that will always arise, even if it was with Trisha or even if it was with Hassan. There is things that will kind of tear the relationship apart because of differences. That's really unfortunate that there's no level of compromise there.
In doing so, he's gathered a ton of different audiences. Now, in his podcast with Hassan, Leftovers, they would mostly talk about surface level progressive shit and make fun of right-wingers.
And you're telling me he didn't flick their dick once?
Yeah, it was actually really good.
No, as 100 shavers use trans women, I say, oh no!
And
it was good. It was good when they were talking outwardly rather than inwardly. That's what made the podcast super enjoyable. If you're someone who even leans to the left, like it was someone, it's someone who enjoys left content. And it's like kind of the place you're having to be, shitting on Trump, shitting on anything that any political or government was doing at the time, that it was kind of like right leaning or conservative, So that's why it was super fun and digestible for a lot of audiences. I feel personally for myself, that's why I liked it. I find myself to be a more left leaning guy, so it was perfect for me.
Mostly that until they actually had to reckon with a very serious topic. I would say that Hassan was very well equipped to talk about that topic.
Palestinian people living in the West Bank are subject to these horrific conditions, horrific living conditions by the state of Israel, America's greatest ally and the only democracy in the Middle East, if you ask Republicans and even liberals.
Well, the dance he invented was so kick-ass.
Israeli settlers are trying to evict Palestinian families in occupied East Jerusalem.
I feel like this is an unfair comparison, especially since Hassan has started his streaming career as a political streamer, right? Where H3 didn't really start off. It was kind of wacky antics and like funny things, or surface level crap, or even a lot of interviews, right? He interviewed a lot of people. Kind of started off as like a Joe Rogan type of guy, right? Where Hassan was mainly a political streamer, So it's not. I feel like this is an unfair comparison, because you don't know what H3's mindset was at the time when this was going on. Like, he could have had a political view, but his content was taking him a different place.
The United Nations says that may be a war crime. It literally is.
I was just eating the toppings, and the pizza looked like a burn victim. It was all disgusting.
I don't know if you can make that joke in 2021.
Why?
It's insensitive to burn victims.
I think it's a good analogy. It's a powerful image.
Ethan was not prepared for this. Ethan, the whole time,
how could you say that, though?
Of the goof guy, and that's fine. We don't expect Ethan to be an expert on the topic.
But that's an unfair statement. That's a judgment based off of his character. And maybe I'm saying this out of hindsight, but that's unfair. How would you know? You guys never had a discussion about Israel-Palestine or the conflicts over there. Like, that's kind of an unfair statement. But I guess what you're saying is that he based himself off like these jokey, antic things. I get that. But I mean, you could still question somebody who jokes around and say, what do you think about this certain topic? That's just a judgment, I think.
Ethan was obviously caught in this tricky situation where he is extremely sympathetic to the Israeli cause and what's happening to them. His wife's Israeli. She served in the IDF. He obviously
mandatory, right?
likes
it's mandatory
the
to
state
serve.
of Israel. On the other hand, he's just got done capturing a massive...
If it's mandatory for you to serve for your country, I mean, how much? What can you do, right? What can you do? I mean, my perception is that you have to serve for your country. I'm not saying that I'm biased to one another, but I'm just saying, like, let's work with the facts here. If you have to serve for your country and that's what you have to do as a citizen, then what much power do you have there? What much can you do?
Progressive audience who are very politically savvy.
Fake an injury.
Hassan is strictly a political streamer, so this is something they're very keyed into. So when they see Ethan say things that are just like not accurate and it's just propaganda, they're gonna call it out.
From the river to the sea essentially means the state of Israel is going bye-bye.
So this massive progressive audience that Ethan has, adopted over the years, they're becoming increasingly critical of his position because now he's talking about it not on Leftovers. He's now talking about it on his podcast.
What I want to do is show you guys how I see Israel, because you don't see that. When you listen to Hassan and you hear all these fucking mega lefties talking about it like it's some super racist, crazy, like Jim Crow style of society. Like, I can't wait to show you guys.
The other day, Bibi fired a really good guy that
a lot of people are pissed about.
So Ethan is having this back and forth with his liberal audience, leftist people online, progressive content creators, Hassan, all of these different people. He's finding new people every day, basically, to get in fights with.
Of all people, this guy, Matt Lee.
Yeah, I mean, that has to do, I feel like personally, like with the political climate. I mean, everybody on your TikToks, Instagram, especially when the whole thing of Gaza and Israel-Palestine was going on, it was everywhere. There was nowhere you could hide from it. There was literally everywhere on the news, everything. So it just makes sense how, kind of the progression of things happen here. So that's kind of, I feel like, how he fell into that. And him being from, or them being from Israel, or I don't know if they're native from that. I don't know. I'm just saying them being close to the situation, I could imagine how much it would be, they would have an opinion on it,
And denims and all these dipshits. And everybody thinks this guy's awesome, apparently. Even though he looks like Millhouse, fucking dork.
Denims, by the way, was the real villain of the video. Evil, hateful, fucking. And I'll say it and I'll double down on it. And people, oh no, not go there.
And it's all culminated, at least for my story, in Ethan burning bridges with people until he burned the bridge with me. Since Ethan and Hassan's falling out, I've been keeping to myself mostly. I don't have many nice things.
I get it, but I mean, moral and ethics. That's why I said Ethan is super moral ethics type of guy. He will die for what he believes in, and that is commendable and respectable. Even if you disagree with the political statements that he makes, I think that's something we can all respect.
Say, maybe if Ethan's able to get some help, maybe if he stops harassing other creators, maybe if he does these things, eventually he'll find peace and we can rekindle our friendship. So that's been my approach. I've occasionally thrown a joke Ethan's way in the form of Hassan Piker versus Ethan Klein for boxing.
I like Idubbbz. He's a good guy, but I don't like this stupid. It's not a fucking petty beef. It's like, this guy is evil and he's doing anti-Semitism. And also he's way out of my weight class.
He didn't like that, but fucking sometimes
you
gotta
he was joking.
throw
come
something
on.
out there. I used to work with this video editor named Froggy Tonic. I discovered him because he was in the circles online that I was in. And one of those circles is an H3 fan. He watched Ethan's content, he liked Ethan's content, until he didn't like Ethan's content. There would be an occasional Froggy tweet where I'd be like, I agree with that, I'm not gonna endorse it, I'm not gonna retweet it or like it, but fair enough.
I guess I just missed my old friend. Some wings are too bird feathered colored.
Now that brings us to February 28th of this year. Now, my former editor of a year and a half ago did say some truly mean shit. He called Hila the C word. He said they're trying to kill their dog with cheddar cheese and a bunch of other shit, I'm sure. Ethan, at some point, discovers that Idubbbz' former editor says this horrendous shit about him and Hila. But no one's asking the question, where does Ethan get this information from? You see, it would be very obviously a problem if...
What does it matter where he gets the information from? What does that matter? I mean, if their information is coming to you, you still have a stance on it, correct? It doesn't really matter.
Ethan was discovering this content by scrolling through Twitter looking for something to upset himself with. He has maybe set it up in such a way where his employees feel the need to send him this information. And that would be horrible. They shouldn't be doing that. They should be sending you things that are
it's important to him, right? He wants to address it.
Don't fucking trigger the hell out of you. Why is there so much work being put into discovering this guy on Twitter who's barely getting any interactions, linking him to me and posting on the Reddit, when there's no work being put into who the fuck is the person on the Reddit who's posting this in the first place?
What does that matter? What does that matter? What does that matter? It's on the H3 Reddit. If H3 is being talked about, regardless of good or bad, then they would address it, right? That is something that they always do. It doesn't matter how it got there or anything. It's not. I don't feel like it's for just to cause conflict. It's to address the situation, right? This person has these freaking thoughts or opinions on y'all and talking crap about you, and here he's connected to Idubbbz, so I could see why there would be a little bit of frustration there. You know what I mean?
Place. If you do a little bit of research, it seems like it's an account whose intention is to make Ethan crash out. One of the users on the Snark Reddit points this out. They're like, I've seen this account before. This account has scraped its history, and it's now trying to make Ethan burn bridges. This is within Ethan's own community. Like, this is the thing that he needs to be critical of. It's not me. So yes, I am willing to admit that my former editor was being very nasty, uncharitable.
I get that, but if you're okay, I get it. I get what he's saying. He's saying like that has nothing to do with me, but he's kind of guilty by association there. So in the sense of like you are associating with this editor who's talking bad about friends, actual friends, Hila and Ethan, then what are you going to do about that as we have an actual relationship, a real relationship, and this is the person that you're hiring? So I see that. You know what I mean? I see where the frustration lies.
And fucked up towards Ethan and Hila on
tells
Twitter.
the truth.
But Ethan and Hila are doing the same shit on their podcast. So I don't want to fucking hear it.
Terrorist supporter.
The CEO of Twitch.
Pedophile.
Now I'm going to watch him.
Yeah, but he's not actively supporting them or has any friendships with them. You know what I mean? He cut those friendships off because of political discourse or whatever, or differences. I think the difference here is that at the time, or I don't know, he keeps saying formally his editor, he fired him or something. But at the time that he was still communicating with him and making edits for Idubbbz, so maybe that's why he felt that way. Where in this one, Ethan is not like having a sustained relationship with those people he disagrees with, even if he's clowning on them.
Respond to the 2 podcast streams where Ethan and Hila call us spineless cowards.
Anyway, this guy was saying shit like that Hila's a Nazi, that she kills kids, that she went on like, she's a IDF baby killer, all this types of shit. And that's showing up right up on us Nisa's and Idubbbz feed. My good fucking friends who I stood by after all these fucking years can't find a spine to speak up. You know why? Because they'll get murdered.
You don't know what's on my feed. What the fuck is happening? For all you know, I only use the For You tab. For all you know, I only use lists. For all you know, I'm seeing these things.
Once again, here we are with Ethan and his politics. It's the moral and ethics will get to you, you know. Let's be fair there.
Tweeted out by my editor of a year and a half ago and saying, God, that is nasty. I'm just not gonna throw someone away because they're having a parasocial weird moment. Just like I'm not gonna throw Ethan Klein away because he's having a parasocial weird crash out.
How many women I fucked? Hassan, by the way, thousands. Yeah, thousands. Let me ask Galia.
Yeah, but if someone who you're hiring and is an independent contractor and then you're actual friends with Ethan and Hila, I mean, in the hierarchy of relationships, they would be more important, correct? So I could see that. But I can also see like, well, that is kind of things that you guys need to deal with. It's not necessarily something, maybe he could have said reassurance. Hey, this is not what I believe. This is some guy I just hired. But then again, it goes into the question of maybe, I don't want to speak for Ethan and Hila, but like it goes into the question, why are you hiring somebody that, you know, speak badly about us, especially since we have a close actual relationship. So there's that, right?
These shoes
could have got another
I'm
editor.
sorry. Oh my God. Hassan's the type of dude who watches himself in the mirror when he has sex.
Watching me on a 30-second delay on your stream.
Wait, how does he know I'm watching already?
Because you've been talking about it for the last 5 minutes.
It's not a fucking petty beef. It's like, this guy is evil and he's doing anti-Semitism. These shoes do not go. I'm sorry.
There are many people, I'm sure, who have unfollowed you for the things that you've said and done. And I'm sure there are even more people who have stayed following you because they don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. They don't want to throw someone away because they've had some hard moments. We're all fucking human.
My good fucking friends who I stood by after all these fucking years can't find a spine to speak up. You know why? Because they'll get murdered.
And what you're saying to me is that I'm a bad friend and I'm a piece of shit. I'm spineless. I'm cowardly because I am following someone on Twitter.
Because they have mobilized such an insane harassment group. It's not bad enough that I have this group of people harassing me and everyone in my life. It's that people outside of this group, journalists, creators, are actively participating in this gaslighting to make it seem like I'm fucking crazy.
I mean, I don't know what he's getting at here. Like, yeah, people are gaslighting you. A lot of people gaslit me when I apologized. That was actually like the #1 type of harassment I got, was people gaslighting me and taking my newfound.
Then you would understand the frustration that he would have, especially something that has like hiding emotions like this, right? You know, I guess he's saying kind of just, you know, suck it up in a sense. But people don't have to suck it up. They can demand what they want. You know what I mean?
Woke ideology to its extreme.
I've probably done and stood by Idubbbz and Anissa more than anybody. I've stood by them when all the internet hated them.
I don't like that Ethan brought this up because it makes the relationship feel very transactional. Like, you know, we're just meant to support each other online despite our own personal morals.
Maybe it wasn't like taking a stance on said political drama or political situation, but it was more making a stance of like, this is my friend, and whether we agree or disagree, I'm gonna back him up because he's my friend. I think that's what Ethan was doing. Whether I agree or disagree, I'm gonna back him up because he's my friend, you know?
Principles.
But I'll say this, I don't think they're fucking any friends of mine. And certainly I don't think they're any fucking friends of mine based on the text conversation I had with them too before I even talked about it. So I have nothing. I don't need any fucking halfway friends, man.
I thought the text conversation that I had with him was very empathetic. I basically just said, like, I know you and Hila are experiencing a ton of harassment, and I essentially empathize with that, and I think there's something positive to get out of the conversation. But he refused to talk on the phone unless I was willing to publicly say something about my former editor and Idubbbz. As much as you don't want halfway friends, I also don't want that kind of halfway friend. I don't want someone who's going to give me like an ultimatum to have a conversation.
Could you not say something when this...
I think I see what he's saying. He's saying like, I don't want to feel pressured into making a decision here. But Ethan is saying, hey, if you don't say anything, or it's kind of you saying nothing is saying something, you know, and I guess maybe that's where Ethan's frustration lies. But Idubbbz's perspective is kind of like, I'm not gonna pick sides here or anything, but I am following people who disagree with you, who harassed your wife or are saying all these mean things about you, and that's just kind of where I'm at. He's kind of fence sitting, I guess.
This is like, imagine like one of you guys is like, Hassan actually wants to go to Gaza so he can strangle Israeli babies or some shit like that. I'd be like, you imagine me not saying something.
You're trying to make a one-to-one comparison where there isn't one. This guy that I follow on Twitter is not in the same relationship as you and one of your current employees who is streaming with you 3 days a week, 3 hours a day for the past 10 years. At one point during the stream, Ethan and Hila bring up Adam McIntyre. Now, Adam does basically the same thing as my former editor. He's critical of Ethan and Hila, and he is sometimes uncharitable and nasty towards them.
Adam McIntyre needs to just like disappear. That guy is a piece of shit, like of the lowest order. I never even stood by him when he talked bad about Trisha having a kid and called him like the spawn of Satan. He was supposedly on our side. I would never even co-sign that. I was disgusted by that statement too. I remember when he called her kid the spawn of Satan.
I never said anything
and
like
I was
that.
supposed to be like cheering on, but I wasn't going to cheer that on. That's disgusting.
Why do we forget that he called her children, which is something we would never do, the spawn of Satan?
It's disgusting.
And
a piece of shit of a human.
It's just incredible who ends up being the good guys in this story. You know, it's really something.
Unfortunately, they never made a statement. They never said that they disagree with his statements about Trisha's baby until it's useful. Like, what is it, 3 years later? Like, I mean, you're talking about it like you were aware of it at the time and that there was some amount of pressure or enthusiasm for you to get down with that. And what?
Yeah, but I think that Trish and Ethan's, I don't know if they were disbanded by that time, but they didn't have that relationship that Idubbbz and maybe H3 or Ethan's relationship with Idubbbz may have been like different than when they both saw each other. Maybe they saw that they were closer to one another. But I feel like Trisha and Ethan's relationship kind of already fell apart. There was no need for it to kind of stand up and say something, you know, even though they did 3 years later, but at least they said something, right?
What it sounds like to me is that you did see it at the time and you were like, ooh, I don't like that. And you didn't endorse it and you didn't fuck with it. Huh. It's almost like that is a fucking identical situation to me.
It's just incredible who
It depends
ends up
if they're
being the
friends
good
or
guys
whatever.
in this story. You know, it's really something.
If they were, then he has
So
a
yeah,
point.
the reason I'm bringing this up is because they're trying to like paint themselves as the good guys, and they're saying like, yeah, we strongly disavow things that are said, even about our enemies. We are the most immoral people on the internet. Unlike Ian and Anissa, who are fucking keeping to themselves. Also, why the fuck does Olivia get the pass?
What a fucking asshole for putting you in that position, Olivia. You're friends with him. And you don't have to say anything, but like, what a fucking piece of shit. What a bad friend to put you in that position just for some fucking clout. It gets people angry at you, like, oh, how can she be friends with him? Which is total bullshit, okay? Olivia did not do anything. And
I want the pass. Do I have to be an employee to get that treatment? Because then you'll just see me as an ally? Or is it because Ethan is afraid of wrongful termination accusations and lawsuits?
And also, I don't mind putting my friend Olivia, who's apparently my real friend, in a terribly weird, fucking uncomfortable situation where you end up getting hate for no reason.
Also, don't frame it as like other people making it hard on Olivia. You're making it hard on all of these people. Please acknowledge your role in this whole fucking thing. Like, it's crazy how warm Ethan is to Olivia and saying how Olivia is essentially just a victim in this whole thing.
It gets people angry at you, like, oh, how can she be friends with him? Which is total bullshit.
But me and Anissa are spineless. Ethan, your whole system is scrambled. My intention isn't to throw the employees under the bus. Like, you guys serve as the fucking foundation for calling out Ethan's hypocrisy on the whole subject. And I know that you guys have probably pushed back against Ethan over the years. How often are you supposed to do that? Do you have to do that every fucking week? It kind of seems like it. And that's exhausting. I don't want to confront my boss. It's not my fucking job to confront my boss and say, today's segment on rapists and pedophiles on Twitch was not my favorite segment to be a part of.
Yeah, friends like these.
Oh yeah, and our other good friends.
What is he saying? Does he like him or not? I don't understand. He's saying a lot of words, dude. Does he like him or not? Does he agree with them or not? Can we just get to the bottom of it? Like, do you like them or not? Do you agree with them or not? Do you want to be on their side or not? Simple as that. Because they're setting the boundary for their relationship. We're friends, and this is what I require for my friends, right? And I think that's fair. I don't know if Ethan's asking for a political stance. Tell me everything that you know about Gaza, Israel, and Palestine. I don't know about that. But it just doesn't look good when you have a bunch of people who are employees of you and following other streamers who you are friends with, who have these like hatred towards Ethan and Hila. That doesn't look good. You know what I'm saying? At a certain point, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anissa and Ian. Thanks, Anissa, for standing up for your girl. I actually stood up for you so many times because, like, why would I not? It was crazy.
They feel pain.
Yeah, why would you not? I mean, if that's truly what you believed and you weren't just going to use it later.
Hey, simple as this. I don't know my political stance on this, but I don't like the hate that they're receiving. I don't like that the thing. They couldn't even do that because that's taking a stance. So they said, you know what? I'm just not gonna be accountable for any of my like thoughts or ideas. I'm just gonna step back and kind of let things fly by. I don't think you can necessarily do that. I don't know. You know what I mean? And not expect things to fall out. Because people need communication. People need reassurance. People need to know. You know what I mean? And when you're following other people, I could expect them to feel a certain type of way, you know?
Of course I was going to stand by you. That's insane. It's absolutely insane and disgusting. But now you choose to hang out with people that would have a problem with you if you defended me.
Exactly.
I'm not going to assume that Hila knows, but I'll say it for anyone who doesn't know. Anissa is half Lebanese and half Irish. For anyone unfamiliar, the Irish have been on the receiving end of a lot of oppression and genocide. On the part of the Lebanese, they've received a lot of oppression and attacks from the IDF. So Anissa is very well familiar with the propaganda and the shit coming out of Israel. Choosing now, out of all the times, to be like, please defend me. No, we're not gonna fucking defend you.
Rudy was saying that Palestinians are taught at 2 years old to kill Americans.
Do we have that one?
I mean, just the other day, Bibi fired a really good guy that a lot of people are pissed about.
He looked mean. I thought he was mean just because he looked mean.
No, it's not.
So yes.
Is this a thing about like Israel Palestine, or is this thing about like his friendship between H3? Like what is this? You know, are we gonna get into his views on the conflict, or are we just kind of gonna keep unpacking their like relationship that fell apart?
Not us. We're not gonna run to your defense when I don't know, we follow people. We be following. That's one fucked up thing that you can say about Anissa and I.
Yeah, but it's because you're not saying anything, dude. You're not saying anything. You know what I mean? You're not saying shit, so it makes it look a type of way. You know what I mean? Especially when they're getting heated, when they're getting blasted. That's why they keep mentioning that. If you don't say anything, they don't know. They don't know what's going on. You're sitting in the middle of the fence, you know, not saying anything.
When we're on Twitter, we do be following.
So
the problem.
It's like they're trying to be protective of all the relationships.
And have
they're trying to be protective of all the relationships, and you just cannot do that. I'm sorry. You're gonna lose people. I'm not saying you can't do that, but if you do it, you're gonna lose people, and that's what it is. If you're trying to protect everything, everyone, no, it's not. Sometimes it ends up that you stand on one side, you know, in other people's eyes. Maybe you can and you can survive in that, but at the end of the day, eventually, it's like, okay, if a person's like, hey, here's what I feel and here's what I think, and this is kind of, I don't see you like doing anything, and we're getting attacked and we're getting harassed, and people that you follow and people that you hire are doing this against us. At a certain point, it's like we have to question your integrity. Like, what is it that you think? What is it that you feel? In order for us to feel a little bit comfortable, or at least say something.
No spine and not stand up for another girl that stood up for you. Enjoy your new friends.
She's friends with people like Idubbbz.
I know.
Yeah. Which I'll show. Idubbbz is actually participating in this whole child protective service.
Former employees.
Yeah.
Which I'll
and if
show
you're
you guys
friends with them, then you're saying what they're saying.
You'll notice that Ethan and Hila start talking about this Idubbbz character. Originally,
who is she, dude?
The
Who is
complaint
this fucking
was about
asshole?
my former editor. He's been chatting shit about Ethan and Hila for the past year at least. They only care about it now because I guess it was spoon-fed to them via their
they
Reddit.
probably cared about it the entire
Clearly
time.
looking out for them.
Or maybe
now,
we're
I'm not
too
going to
busy.
sugarcoat it. We are friends with Idubbbz, but I would say it's the same level of friendship that we had with Ethan and Hila. It's like kind of an
So
internet
what?
friendship.
You're gonna fence it in that too?
That she's a good person, like we
Hell
think Ethan and Hila are good people. Kind of a tricky situation. How can you possibly think that they're both good people at their core? People can have crash out moments. People can say things that they don't mean. People can say things because they want internet clout and attention. I don't know, I think they're both probably guilty of saying things that they don't mean for internet clout and attention. Right now, one's a little bit more fucking nasty to me than the other.
I just don't see how you can be my friend and also be friends with someone like that.
Well, you can't. So I already forgot about you.
I actually have a lot of friendships that are kind of that way, where it's like, you know, one of the friends doesn't fuck with the other friend, but there is someone in the middle who kind of fucks with both of them, but separately. Yeah, there's a lot of friendships that are like that. I'm not gonna make you guys like meet up and kiss or anything. I get it. You guys are in fucking... You're either my best friend who's deep-throating me to the base of my cock, or you are Satan. You're the devil.
The last thing I said to Anissa, we were texting before I ever talked about it. She's like, I don't care about this guy. He's a nobody, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, then you'll have no problem publicly denouncing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, the conversation ended.
She never replied.
Ethan, you can't even phrase it in a way that doesn't make you sound like you're being coercive and shitty. Well, then, you should have no problem publicly denouncing it, right? Does that sound like a friend? It kind of sounds like something a powerful villain would say.
But it was so funny how she immediately went to comment everywhere, like on our subreddit. She immediately had to comment like, oh, he doesn't work with us anymore. But that was it. That's all she said.
But then say that you don't
Okay, do you have anything else to say for your friends though?
One of the reasons Anissa was so quick to clarify things in your Reddit is because your Reddit was already talking about who this editor is. And they were spreading misinformation that it was our co-host on our podcast, Uncle Dane. So yeah, the last thing...
So they cut him off because the heat they were getting, you know, it still wasn't a stance, right? It was still kind of like, hey, we cut him off because we just don't want to deal with that. What's going on, right? It wasn't like, hey, we cut him off because of this reason or that reason. It was just like, we cut him off because of this. It's because we agree or disagree, or we want to make any political stance, or we want to make any statement. We just cut him off.
wanted is this guy getting pulled into this mess, and you guys don't give a fuck. Would it have been nicer and more supportive to say, we don't agree with the things he's saying and we support Ethan and Hila? Sure. Like, yeah, that would have been a nicer thing to say.
That would have been perfect. That would have just avoided all this crap.
Our silence means something. It means that we would like to pause this relationship until you figure your shit out. And then maybe we can find a moment in time, I don't know how long it'll be, but a moment in time in the future
Why so scared?
where things are a little bit easier to broach. I don't think we...
Why not just stand on something? Why not just stand on like that? Like, what do you mean pause? You can't just pause shit, can you? I guess you can set boundaries and say, hey, but it's taking a stance against them. You can't avoid this shit. You're not gonna avoid it, no matter what you do. There's no avoiding it. It's like you either do or you either don't. In that particular situation between them. Maybe in other friendships you can float by because it's not as close and well knitted like that. But I'm just saying, like, it's not something that's gonna be avoidable.
Need to do it right now. But you've insisted that this is an important thing to address. I would have been perfectly fine with you not blasting me on your Instagram story. I would have been perfectly fine with you not blasting me and my wife on your podcast twice. I would be fine with you not brigading my comment section on my podcast that gets 3,000 views a week because I prefer to not do harassment campaigns and instead talk about Vampire's Kiss.
Like they say something like he doesn't work for me, and I strongly disagree, and I support Ethan and Hila. The problem is
that she doesn't.
See, perfect. That's the perfect clip. This encompasses the entire problem here. This encompasses the entire situation right here. What he says next is gonna be the most. We're gonna see exactly because perfect. They just said it. For 24 minutes, this would have been the fastest thing they could have put. They could have put this in the beginning, please. So let's go rewind that shit. Let's try it again, and let's see what he's about to say.
Vampire's Kiss.
Like they say something like he doesn't work for me, and I strongly disagree, and I support Ethan and Hila. The problem is
that she doesn't.
That's the problem.
That's the problem.
She actually.
She thinks they have a point.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Let's see what he's about to say.
So go fuck yourself.
I agree.
Go fuck yourself. What about your girl? This is what I'm talking about. This aggression that you're putting out into the world. What the fuck do you think we're gonna do? You think I'm gonna fucking sit on my hands when you do this shit? Like, this is nasty. We had such a fair response to what you guys were going through. We don't support harassment. It's a bad thing, but it happens and you're perpetuating it.
You fucking propagandist, lying scumbag, terrorist supporter. He probably sets up a mirror and jerks off watching himself. Dan KKK Clancy has a similar view of Hitler.
Did he say what he thought about it in any of that? I don't really think he did, right?
Because Dan Clancy, the Nazi, fucking
he was just kind of saying like, deal with it.
Anti-Semite.
You can't expect other people to stop harassing you if you continue to harass people. Let's think about it on a micro level. Have you ever been in a comment section?
No, but again, address it, right? Address it. Like, take the stance. What's the stand? What do you think? You know? Hey, do you agree? Do you disagree? And why? And here are the reasons why. We don't agree with that behavior. He's kind of saying it is what it is, and you gotta kind of just deal with it. What's the stance?
And found someone to argue with, it doesn't stop. It can literally go on forever if you don't want to touch grass.
I mean, yeah, this was kind of like a line, what happened today, that should never be crossed, even by like the most cynical, toxic people. It's going to have ramifications in terms of how I conduct myself. In terms of these fair weather friends who are, you know, so happy to be friends as long as they're getting something out of it.
Ethan, that is a rich thing to say. Like, you're the H3 podcast, okay? There's a lot of friends of the show. There's even more fair weather friends of the show. Let's not get into this shit, okay? That is so bizarre and insulting to suggest that I was only ever being friends with you to get something out of it. No, I'm friendly with you, and I'd say I'm a light friend because it's been pleasant hanging out with you. I've enjoyed your content over the years. And as of late, it's gotten really fucking shitty.
Yeah, so go fuck yourself.
I agree.
Who else? Who else do we want to burn today?
Who else do we want to burn today? You're making it so fucking obvious that this is your emotional dumping ground. It's horrible. This is not what podcasts are. There was a way to approach this to say like, yeah, we feel hurt by you guys not saying something. You've decided to do the extra thing and attack. Now, in fairness, I am...
So far in the last 27 minutes, he's just dismissed their feelings, dismissed how they felt, hasn't done a take. I don't know if we're talking about Israel, Palestine. I think we're talking more about the relationship and the fallout between him and H3, and kind of using the whole political situation in order to say, hey, this is why we left. You know what I'm saying? Is this like the breakup video? Like, you know, when people break up, this is like the fucking like the articulation of all that.
Attacking back, but I feel very insulted and I feel defensive and I feel like I am speaking up for a lot of people who have problems with you and a lot of people who have been on the receiving end of your harassment.
It's so easy to be...
So he has problems with them? Like, he does not like them? He doesn't agree with them? Is that his stance?
Anti-racist.
It's a stance now, right?
Racism is the worst thing in the world, right?
Why does he have that stance now and he couldn't have a stance like before? Why does all this have to happen for him to have like a stance about that? We couldn't have a stance when the relationship needed there to be some sort of like addressing it. We could have avoided all of this crap.
Hate racist. Fuck racist.
Microaggressions.
The minute that they actually have to stick their neck out for somebody, the minute they have to actually risk something to put themselves in under
exactly there you go,
sacrifice
Fence
something
sitting.
Personally to stand up for racism, then all of a sudden it's like, hey, I don't want to get involved.
And that's drama.
How much do you care?
I don't do drama.
How much
Sorry.
do you actually care? Isn't that the whole point? Like,
I realize
what is he about to shift blame, discredit them, and say, you know what, you got to deal with it. Racism is everywhere. That better not be that better not be the next thing that comes out of him. I need to see a take. Where's the take?
Is that Ethan and Hila are more scared now than they've probably ever been.
Look,
I feel
he's doing
like
it.
anti-Semitism is a thought in their heads now more than ever. And
True.
It's not completely unjustified to be thinking about that sometimes. You guys are just
there
hurt,
you go.
and you're kind of like dancing around and making very like loose, poorly thought out analogies for something that doesn't even apply to us. It's like me making this video is the standing up for something, and it's saying, fuck you, you guys are being bad. You know, I don't think you're bad people, but you're being bad. You're behaving poorly. You're hurting.
Why? They're behaving poorly because they're standing up for what they believe in? Do you agree or do you disagree? Next part, end the video. End the video. Do you agree or do you disagree? This is why we disagree, but we still support Hila and Ethan. We still see them as friends. But you're being protective of all relationships, right? So you can't necessarily say all that. So you got to kind of stand right here. You got to kind of stand in the middle of the crowd. And what you chose was to back away from the situation when they were trying to hold you accountable, right? I'm not saying that you need to agree with them politically. You don't have to agree with anyone politically, but they were requiring that of you, you and your partner. But you didn't do that, right? Instead, we went this direction.
Hurting people.
I mean, go back to the civil rights. You think that the people who are like the white kids who are protesting with the black students, you think that they were just like not risking anything? Those kids who are marching with the black students and...
So in Ethan's analogy, he's the black student and I'm the white student, but I'm the white student that's not, you know, marching by his side. I'm not doing the difficult thing. You're gonna have to march on your own, black student.
Marching with the black students and...
There you go, that's a stance.
Why is it inspiring? Why is it inspiring?
Well, and it's the same thing, to bring it back to Hassan, just because, but...
That's his stance. His stance is that he's not going to take a stance, and he's going to do anything he can not to take a stance and stay out of the drama and stay out of the political warfare. That's his stance. That's what it is.
Kind of is the same thing. Like, I was thinking about going to Gaza
Yeah.
until I found out it's
Until
dangerous. He's a total performative activist that doesn't give a single fuck about the cause.
Ah, it's been performed exquisitely. Harassing one person and seamlessly transitioning into harassing another one. If anyone's been watching for the past fucking year, I'm pretty sure they have a good idea of your feelings about Hassan.
Like, people like Anissa are the perfect example because she's friends with these people. She's friends with Denims. Denims is streaming this story about our kid
I'll show that, yeah.
getting Giarda from the dog, whatever.
I'm sorry, I'll accept this position from anyone except you guys.
Why?
You have laid the groundwork for this type of streaming, which is watching people's shit and giving your unfiltered reaction to it. Why would you expect Anissa, of all people, to say something to Denims? Okay, so by that logic, we should be saying shit to you guys all the time. But I have a feeling you guys wouldn't like if we said shit like that to you.
You know what? If he did that, great. But they're not going to do that. Why? Because they avoid all type of drama and conflict. They're not going to do that. If they do that, that would show more character with him. But they're not going to do that. Because they're not going to take a stance on anything. They're just going to sit by and let the fucking, all of this shit happen. You know what I mean? They're not going to do that. And I'm not saying that it's not okay that you don't want to deal with anything, but you have to understand the repercussions of that. There is going to be consequences for you not taking a stance or not saying anything or fence sitting or whatever you want to call it, whatever way you want to approach this. There's going to be consequences to that. And you're making that decision knowing what it is. You know what I mean? And they feel strongly about it. And they felt like, and not only on top of that, they felt like you were their friend, a true friend. You know what I'm saying? And when they needed you the most to make some sort of statement, you didn't. They both didn't. And they didn't like that. So you can keep approaching situations the way you're approaching them, but you need to realize that that's going to affect you and your relationships constantly. If you're not making some sort of thing that's saying, hey, you're not saying anything, you know? And that's the problem. I'm not saying you can't move like that, but if you're not saying anything, it's saying something. If you care about the relationship, you know? And some other people may not like, some other people may be okay with that, saying, okay, this is not your place, but whatever. And some other people are gonna be like, no, I need you as a friend to say something. And especially if you have people who are under your staff doing what they're doing, you know, or you're following people that are saying these things, you know, you don't have to agree with this politically. I hope that's not what H3 is saying, but you don't have to agree with this politically, but just say something, stand up for your friend. And they're not going to do that because that would mean taking a stance on something. That would mean affecting the whole thing. That would mean if I did this is going to react to this. So it's better if I just do nothing, you know?
All the time. Yeah, we've been respecting you as independent content creators. You can do what you want. We'll treat you as adults. Maybe we shouldn't have been treating you as adults.
She could say so much, and it would make her a little bit uncomfortable, right? It's not comfortable. She'll get a little bit of shit.
Yeah, just for
but
saying
that would be commendable.
Yeah, it shows
by the way,
character.
it kind of speaks for itself that saying, hey, their
There's
house is
volumes.
claimed, or you know, they're actually good people, like that's gonna get you shit. That kind of says it all, doesn't it?
There isn't a single person that
It's because this is all being like dirtied up with the whole political stuff. So if you say one thing and you say another thing, like it's like you're taking, you know what I mean? It's still taking a stance, and that's what they're ever trying to do is not take a stance. That's what it is.
Who would give a fuck?
End the video.
If I publicly said that Ethan and Hila are great with their kids, Ethan and Hila didn't kill their dog, and Ethan and Hila wipe their asses or don't have giardia or whatever the prompt is. No one would care. The only person who would care is me, because I'm like, why did I tweet this out? I'm not tweeting out because I'm not your fucking lapdog. That's why I'm not tweeting it out. I'm not saying it to my audience because I don't give a fuck. It's not my business.
Oh,
that's in my opinion, doing something that's
Yes, it
difficult
does.
and standing by your principles. That's the whole point. That's what makes standing by your principles admirable, is that it's not always easy.
Why are you saying that I'm not standing up for my principles when you don't even know what they are? I get
You haven't said
we're
anything.
a little bit past directly naming me, so we might have gone off on a tangent. If you
Nobody knows what they are because you haven't said shit, and you think that people don't deserve to hear your shit because you don't want to get involved. So why have an opinion in the first place? You have the opinion, but you just won't say shit.
Maybe accepted the phone call and we talked about it, you could have asked me, hey, what are your principles?
Okay, there you go.
And I can tell you the way I've been behaving is exactly in line with my principles.
What the fuck does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? The way I've been behaving, it goes exactly with my principles. What? So the way you behave is left up to interpretation. So then, therefore, if you're going about it the way you're going about it, then that means that Ethan and Hila were correct, right? Right?
To talk about the
what the
BDS
hell does
list.
that mean?
We're going to start off with Frogan because obviously this is like as bad as it gets. If you're following Frogan, that can only mean that you're anti-Ethan. Oh, this is not a good start. Love of the H3 podcast. You are following Frogan, so that means that you are anti-Ethan. Sam, Morg Pie, friend of the show. Olivia, Ian, Daily Dose of Internet is anti-Ethan. Jesus, this is fucked up. Pokimane, comment etiquette. Oh shit, Asmongold's in here.
He doesn't follow Frogan, right? What?
No, Asmon. That means you're anti-Ethan. That's fucked up. We're gonna want to avoid these creators at the top of the list, but
Why are
one
they
tier
following them?
below them are the creators who associate.
Yeah, but they're. I mean, I guess I don't know why Love is doing it, but that would for him to be explaining that. But I guess they're asking you because you're their friends, close friends.
Associate with them. They're essentially endorsing all of their statements. You got me, you got Anissa. I think Hassan's.
Oh no! Well, first off, okay. Well, the editor thing, right, was a little weird. The other girl, I guess Anissa. I forgot what her name, Anissa. I guess that's a little bit like more charitable to him. That's fair, I guess. But like, the editor was weird, right? Probably shouldn't have that
in there. You'd think that Hassan would be on the top of the BDS list, but that's not the case. Hassan provides additional value for people. Ethan can turn a blind eye to people collaborating with Hassan because that's what he did. You gotta be the lowest of the low to be associating with the Frogans and the Denims of the world. To associate with Hassan, that just makes sense because he's famous and he's got a massive fan base. Also, Ethan still follows Hassan on Instagram, so Hassan is in his feed.
And that's showing up right up on us Nissa's and Idubbbz feed.
It's important to remember that this is a living document.
I think this is a kind of a thing of they thought where the relationship standed, right? Just because you show Theo Vaughn or you show these different podcasts doesn't mean that they have the same like relationship with him, right?
And people can be removed or put onto it depending on how Ethan's feeling that day. You have this other tier of creators that exist below Hassan but are still anti-Ethan. But Ethan really doesn't want to bring your attention to these ones because it's kind of unpopular, you know? A lot of them are famous. It's no coincidence that Ethan stays silent when these powerful, popular men are supporting Hassan. It's because Ethan is a coward. He's a bitch-made coward. I think Ethan has an unreasonable amount of respect for these comedians because they have power, they're quick, and I think he knows that they don't fuck with his ideology. But he's gonna keep that to himself because the last thing that he wants to discover is that people that he respects and looks up to, they don't fuck with him.
Bill Burr came on. It was like the worst fucking show. It was just horrible. That was like my lowest moment on podcast history. We could talk about Bill Burr, ruined my life. Bill Burr made Ethan go on Lexapro. I was prescribed it and it was in my bedside. And then it was the Bill Burr episode that made me finally start.
When Stavros goes on Hassan's stream and he mocks your content nuke.
I actually saw a really interesting video about you, man, and I don't know that I'm even comfortable being here anymore.
Oh no.
It really kind of shed light on you in a way.
Yeah.
You kind of like have leftist politics and stuff like that, and I actually feel betrayed.
Yeah,
and so I'm actually just here to let you know this is the last time I'm ever coming.
You don't fire back because you're coping. So you're just gonna tuck your tail between your legs and never mention on your podcast that mentions everything. You're bringing up some fucking connection I have on Twitter. Someone mocks you on a stream, you're not touching it. Fuck you, you're a coward. It's just his job. It's just what he does for his job. You know, he doesn't mean it. We're actually good friends. You know, he makes fun of everyone. It's not just me, right? Oh, also, I can't forget about Matt Lieb. Matt Lieb is in this like middle tier. His valuable association is Rhett and Link. So Rhett and Link, conveniently, are also in this category of popular and powerful men who Ethan does not want to burn bridges with. Although he's sniffing around.
This guy, Matt Lieb, he works for Good Mythical Morning. Of all people, this guy, Matt Lieb, who apparently is a producer for Good Mythical Morning. Well, this guy works for Good Mythical Morning, acting like he's wholesome, and he's bringing on somebody that wants to kill my wife, or in a video game. And I think he should be fired, frankly. And I hope he is fired. He's pathetic, and he interviewed basically a terrorist.
I think Ethan only respects power right now, which is one of the reasons I made this video in the first place, is because he thinks I'm weak. He thinks a lot of these other creators that he's gone out of his way to attack.
I think it's just a stance thing. I think we're just kind of looping around here. I think it's just like, did you take a stance? What was your stance? Is, you don't have to support us, but you're not saying anything. And then to say, hey, my actions show our representations of my thoughts and my opinions. And then when people interpret your thoughts and your opinions, it's wrong. Or it's something that you just don't agree with. Yeah, like it just make sense.
That they're weak, and he thinks they're a target that he can bully, he can manipulate, he can send lawsuits to. And I want him to know that we're not going to be bullied. You're being a piece of shit, and we're going to call you out.
So here's the button. You've got a video and you've got an audio. We're hitting both.
Yes.
There's no point. Who are you?
What's this?
He's like, yes, do it.
Now let's talk about the button. Ethan got this button, or kill switch, as a response to the controversy with Cutie Cinderella.
That was crazy.
He was not able to control himself in that moment, and instead of figuring out how he can change his behavior, he spent $20,000.
He's gonna character assassinate him. Watch. This has all been a character assassination video, by the way.
Dan and Hila were like, we would kill button that right now if we could. I can't change who
This must be so painful for H3. If they truly saw Idubbbz and his wife as like really close friends, this must be so a stab in the heart, a stab in the chest. Your friends are linking up with your enemies, and then not taking a stance, and then saying that my actions are my stances, and then when your actions are like, I'm linking up with my friends, I'm linking up with your enemies, and they're my friends, and my editor, is saying all these mean things about Hila, and we're not gonna say anything because we want to stay out of the drama. Oh my god.
I am.
Oh my god. You know what I mean?
That's why the kill button is on its way.
That's it. See, exactly.
He uses the button for everything. If his jokes don't land, he's hitting the button.
It was being presented as if the Jordan crying thing.
I hit the button.
Why?
I don't think I needed to, but you guys were giving me crickets, so I panicked.
If he's insecure about getting something wrong,
we're in the
he's
button
hitting the
chapter.
button.
Great.
Okay. What? Button for that? What on this frame could Ethan have responded to? Perhaps the country flag that he got wrong? Maybe. I don't know.
If he goes on a problematic tirade, he's hitting the button.
Before, look how sad. But yeah, it's not just that. Like their eyes are like big. I think you guys are wrong on this one. I think you guys are all wrong on this one.
I don't think he's unique in hitting the button. I think if all of us had buttons, we'd hit the button all the time. But if you don't have it, you operate differently. You think about what you're saying. You maybe plan for your show a little bit more. You maybe say, I'm not going to have my podcast be an emotional dumping ground for today. You instead say, ooh, it's important that we stay on topic. Also, the H3 community and Ethan himself,
I think the button's a great idea. It's kind of like an accountability button, right? Like, let's say the crew decides as a whole collective, like, hey, maybe that's kind of an unhinged take, or maybe you should rethink that a little bit. I think it's kind of useful. I think he's saying, again, he's just kind of saying, hey, like, if you're gonna say it, say it. You know what I mean? He's kind of trying to put back the stance thing on him. But it just doesn't. I don't think it applies necessarily here. I think that button is an accountability button.
use the phrase goblin mode all the time to excuse a lot of his shitty behavior or make it seem less bad.
I've been diagnosed with goblin mode, actually.
By claiming that what happens is he just gets into this like uncontrolled state he refers to as goblin mode.
I do not call myself goblin mode.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what you did.
Goblin mode? Is that what you're calling Tourette's now?
To all victims of goblin mode, I would like to issue an apology.
You are goblin mode today. You're goblin mode. Look how many times you paused.
I'm trying, bro.
And I don't think there's no
sometimes he
room
does
for
say
using
crazy
the term
things.
goblin mode. I like the idea that you're defending yourself and the little guy by going goblin mode when a big corporation or a big entity is trying to attack you.
When it goes full blast,
fuck me
yeah.
over, if you
That's why he has
steal
that
money
button.
from me, if you patronize me, if you do any of this shit like you're trying to do to me, to treat me like a fucking
That's
idiot,
content brain.
I'm
Content brain as fuck.
crazy, dude. I've gone fucking goblin mode over way less.
But you not thinking about what you're saying, not, reflecting on your behavior,
It's a
not
live
changing
show,
your
bro.
behavior, that's not goblin mode. That's being a child. Let's talk about the crew.
What?
I think the crew has been put in the worst working environment that
Being a child would be like, a better example of that would be being a child is not having a button and just standing on that and saying, yeah, I said some unhinged crap and I said some really inappropriate shit and I'm just going to stand on it and I don't care what anybody says. That's being a child. I think there's a little bit of buffer, you know what I'm saying? If the crew collectively is saying, and he's listening and being attentive to that and saying, hey, that was unhinged, that was unright, reverb, go back. It's like a good thing, I think. It keeps him in check.
you possibly can be for a fucking podcast.
Wow,
Every crew
Idubbbz has a
member
lot of
has it
resentment
back.
towards,
like to be around
towards
Ethan, period, would be a nightmare right now.
I'm standing by every fucking syllable of that, okay? What she did was abhorrent. And by the way,
just don't listen. Your critique of her is correct. It's just, people are sensitive about women being called that word, and so
like, how pathetic are you? You know what I mean?
Well,
I'm not assuming his pronouns, and fuck all these people. Go ahead.
Never
and I'm
mind.
not yelling at you. I'm just. Kelly is a black woman, right?
Yes.
Maziel is a
Korean.
Oh, Dan, come on. You're being such a buzzkill. Yeah, I didn't know Korean. I asked if Koreans are POC. God.
Dan's in the bathroom. Let's just not do this right now.
I asked if Korean people are POCs.
The one time the button didn't work and we listened to how he spoke to AB without thinking that the internet was going to hear it, it was rude, it was nasty, and it didn't have this caveat of like, I'm not mad at you. It was anger, and it was uncalled for.
Use they get access to cover most of it.
We're doing it.
What are you
Making it
doing?
so awkward and terrible.
I'm sorry, I'm not.
Just like, this is what I'm talking about when it's always like.
We need to get home for our kids.
It's like, bro.
Oh no, I didn't want to finish it right now. I'm about finishing Wednesday.
On Friday, maybe. Is it?
You guys, like.
All right, I'm taking my hand off the. What? Okay, well.
heard all that.
Thanks, button.
And he didn't want to take accountability for it. He immediately wanted to deflect, and he wanted to say that the button fucked him.
First of all, I appreciate the hard work.
I know
you've
you do,
done, and
I
I
know.
loved it, and I really enjoy it. But it's like every time we do it, it's like the show is what it is, and
I know.
it makes it.
I was being selfish.
No, dude, that button f***ed me, dude. Can you imagine that button f***ing me over like that?
The button fucked you? AB fucked you? Who fucked you? You fucked yourself by being an asshole. He makes it seem like he's not a tyrant of a boss.
We're doing it.
What are
Making
you
it
doing?
so awkward and terrible.
So are we past like the whole like he didn't take a stance on Israel, he didn't take a stand, like is he saying like he just doesn't fuck with Ethan and Hila? Was that the whole point? Are we now just trying to like character assassinate him? You know what I mean? Is that the point?
Appreciate
For
the
the
hard work.
rest of the video?
And I loved it, and I really enjoy it.
Dan, his producer, is constantly clarifying things on the air and making it clear that what Ethan said was a joke, Ethan is being overly defensive, or he's saying things that are like not true and he's exaggerating.
people saw that. They thought that was what you searched to
I did
pull
not
up that
type
photo. So I'm just clarifying.
Thank you for clarifying. I appreciate you doing that. God forbid.
It's okay because I buttoned it.
Why?
Because
it's not that big of a deal, man.
just
Like,
your
how
inability to.
No. Hold on, Dan. How does it change anything? People knowing that we did it.
It's fun when it's a surprise.
Okay, well,
Well, you just asked how it changed
Surprise
things.
them on your show.
Okay. All right.
You know, I understand that that's his role, and he's, you know, Ethan's made that his job, or Dan's made it his job. Ethan leans on it so heavily, in the same way that he leans on the button. Ethan is leaning on all of these people to be adults and look after his behavior and give all of this emotional and empathetic energy for Ethan, but Ethan refuses to give it back to them. Also, let's talk about AB and Lena, 2 Lebanese employees, and you just continue to talk about the conflict like they don't exist. It would be nicer, a lot nicer, for you to shut the fuck up about it. You're allowed to do that.
No, that's not.
Hezbollah in,
That's not what's
in
gonna
Syria
happen.
alone killed double that much.
It's not within his character.
All right, I'm going to move on. I just want to play Hassan talking about bad empanada.
Ethan doesn't want to change, and he wants to bring the entire crew down with him because he's putting them in this position every day, right? But it's more important that he gets this shit off his chest. It's more important that he dumps. We're all familiar with Goblin Mode. Well, Ethan debuted a new mode recently.
And by the way, my ratio is pretty good. Like, I'm looking at like 20 Goblin modes to 1 too far. Demon mode, let's call it.
What makes Demon Mode different than Goblin Mode is goblins aren't really like an intimidating, powerful force. If the goblin is persistent, it can get what it wants.
When I'm done with the other one, the big one that's dropping probably next week, my full attention is going to you, George. Like the Eye of Sauron. I see you. I see you out there, you fucking cockroach.
Ethan, the reason the internet got behind you when you were being sued by Matt Haas or when you were being sued by Ryan Kavanaugh is because people saw you as the underdog. They saw you as the guy who's defending the common man.
I'm suing, and I cannot wait for you guys to read it. At the moment, we are writing 3 complaints for 3 people.
You are doing the classic rich asshole thing. You have a deficit of friends, you have a surplus of enemies. You feel really bad, you feel hurt, but you also have a surplus of money. So what can you do? You can use that money to bully and intimidate people. These public legal threats that you're making to fellow creators, these legal threats that you're making to people on Reddit, on Twitter, you're like, I'm hurt. These people are hurting me. What do I do to stop it? There's nothing I can do to stop it. I'm powerless. No, you have a ton of power, you have a ton of options, you have a ton of choice. That's exactly what you get for being filthy rich, is you can do all of these things.
I've never want to sue someone for defamation, but like at what point do you kind of fucking have to?
Does he just go on for the rest of the video like this?
Criminal, a murderer, shit like that.
Fucking creepy and weird.
Is this a new thing?
This is a new thing. This happened during the show. Upon initial examination, it seems to check out, and it's not great for young Noah.
Can I say that? Don't say it yet.
Don't say it.
So he's a rape. So of course his standard. I don't know what he's accused of, so I'm not actually going to say. But
Ethan brought on a former partner of Noah to basically just shit talk him and say that he's a bad partner. But that's all that Ethan was able to extract out of it.
you are not accusing him of committing any crimes or doing R-word or anything like that. The accusation is that he's a sleaze.
Absolutely. Noah
Yeah.
Sampson, as far as I know, is not a rapist.
Fuck you to Noah Sampson, who's not just a liar and a scumbag, but also a creep, allegedly.
Allegedly.
Now let's talk about the left-leaning Democrat.
He presents himself as someone like me, a
here we go.
left-leaning Democrat who supports basic things.
The thing that made me start to question Ethan's intentions is that
But
when
now we're
he
going
was
to the Hassan
suggested to talk
chapter.
to Sam Cedar, a fellow progressive, a guy that Ethan respects and looks up to,
He works with Sam Cedar at the Majority Report. I respect him and what they do there.
he kept saying that it was racist or anti-Semitic to suggest that he talked to someone who's within the same ethnic group as him.
That's why I said yesterday, like, I urge Ethan to talk to Sam Cedar. There are very thoughtful, very kind anti-Zionist Jews out there that he could talk to. I don't think that I will be able to reach him.
What's the insinuation that I only listen to other Jewish people? You need to talk to my pre-approved list of Jews that like agree with me on everything. You know, it doesn't matter if they're Jewish, dude. It doesn't matter if they're fucking Jewish.
I think most Jews.
I don't think Jews
it's
at large
crazy.
view it. I don't think that is the.
What in what position are you to even say that?
It's not motivated by
entire
myself.
ethnic
It's
group.
motivated
That's
by
crazy to me.
Jews against anti-Zionist
No,
Jews.
seriously, how can you speak for my entire ethnic group? I find that really interesting.
Ethan, I don't know what to fucking tell you. This is like step one of having a leftist ideology, is recognizing our race, religion, nationality, all this shit, all shape our experiences as people.
That's the reason why it'd be better served to have this conversation not with myself, but with an anti-Zionist Jewish person.
Why does it matter if they're Jewish?
Because I'm not Jewish, and you've said in this conversation that, like, how can you tell me how to feel about?
I think as a Jewish person, like, he would know a little bit more, right? If he's ingrained in that culture, like, I would assume that. I guess that's what you're saying, Hassan. Like, I understand what's going on, and I understand how it's impacting my religion or whatever.
About the situation.
Yeah, but how is one person a representative of Jews at large? I'm just telling you how Jewish people around the world interpret that phrase.
So yes, Ethan, on occasion you might be suggested to talk to someone who has some crossover with you. It doesn't have to be your ethnicity. It could possibly be someone who shares progressive ideology with you. It could possibly be someone who is of your same gender. I think Ethan understands this concept very well. He listened to these women on his show when they told him that he shouldn't be calling women bitches.
This bitch is intolerable. You are such a nasty fucking bitch, Ken.
I don't know if you can call her a bitch though.
She is a bitch. She's a fucking. You're right. I call her a see you next Tuesday.
I'm curious, what do Lena and Sam think about it?
I wouldn't be okay with that.
Yeah.
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 I feel like that it's for the girlies, Ethan. But I
So
agree.
you guys all seem to be in consensus that it's in poor form. I think to respect the women here in the room, I'm going to have to pass on saying that.
The infantilization of Ethan Klein is fucking nauseating. He's not a child. He is absolutely capable of looking into Hassan, learning about his politics, interviewing, doing loads of things to figure out where he stands.
He presents himself as someone like me, a left-leaning Democrat who supports basic things. And for the first time, I noticed an inordinate amount of radical, hardcore leftists. I mean, I thought we were social democrats, not whatever this was. This comment from Hassan really started to sound some alarms in my head. I was already getting uncomfortable with our partnership. I started to wonder if I had any idea who this guy actually is.
You made how many episodes with Hassan? Like, this guy made a fucking program with the biggest mega leftist on the platform.
How long was he friends with you before he realized that this was gonna happen?
Now he's acting like he was tricked and he was incapable of figuring out what this guy's beliefs were. Bro, I didn't make the fucking leftist program. You did. You made fucking, 60 some odd episodes of this shit for hours talking to this guy? You didn't have a problem with any of it until, Ethan talks about being aware of Hassan's 9/11 comments and then sort of leaves it at that. Like it was just a joke. Actually, I think Ethan describes them as edgy moments or jokes.
You might remember him from such classics as
America deserved 9/11, dude. Fuck it. I'm saying it.
Now, to be clear, I knew about all these edgy and controversial jokes at the time we made the show together, because who am I to judge?
No, Ethan, those aren't jokes, right? When someone makes a controversial statement like that, that's not them trying to be funny. I can understand why you would conflate the two. That is someone who is extremely frustrated and passionate about a particular topic. In this case, American imperialism and terrorism. You could have looked into that. You could have talked to Hassan a little bit more and found out what his international politics opinions are.
This is
but you
thoughts,
wouldn't
right?
even need to do that. You can look at it online. You're not a victim. You weren't
He agrees
tricked.
with Hassan.
You made 60 some odd episodes.
So they were right.
If you didn't want to go down this route, you shouldn't have done it. But that was your fucking choice. You did it. You are an adult. When Ethan and Hila are watching Matt Lieb saying that one state doesn't represent all Jews, they cannot wrap their heads around the idea.
No single person represents all Jews.
I'm just telling you how Jewish people around the world interpret that phrase.
No single person represents all Jews, as no single state represents all Jews.
This is another weird thing.
Oh my God.
Israel, this is a lie that I see Hassan and people pander. They say that Israel's going to war on behalf of Judaism. They have never, I don't believe that that's ever been stated. And I don't think Israel ever explains that it's like, I think Israel says it's a place where Jews can go.
Israel's just a place Jews can go? With that slogan, we might actually have peace. You know, if that's all you're defining Israel as, is a place Jews can go. Like, sure, it sounds like America to me. Like, all right.
I don't think that Israel said they represent all Jews. I don't think that's a stance. We're like, hey, displacing Palestinians is all Jewish people.
Ethan is being so disingenuous here to suggest that he doesn't understand what Matt Lieb is saying. Like, he's making a semantic argument. Like, I don't think Israel has said that it represents every last Jew on the planet. I don't think Israel has claimed that. They're not going to say that their most genocidal behavior.
Is there like a hierarchy of Jews? Like, is there more like Jewish people who are more Jewish or whatever? Is that like a thing? Who's more of a Jew?
Represents anything to do with them, okay? But what they are going to do is they're going to inexplicably link Israel and Jewishness together, so when they're being criticized, all of a sudden they have the perfect defense. Oh, another thing I need to mention. There was a tier list. It was called the Who Can Say Habibi tier list. It was presented at TwitchCon as like a panel that was just meant to be lighthearted and fun.
That was crazy.
And Ethan Klein saw that, and he decided that it was anti-Semitic.
Tier list them, and we're going to need your help to discuss and figure out who can say Habibi.
Oh, so this is the tier list of Jews. So there you go.
And who can't.
And also, we have tiers. We have Arab coded. They ask permission to say Habibi. You know, like you got like a white guy who's like, can I say it? Is it a slur? And then Love Sabra, which is they're not Arab coded at all.
Now, when I first saw this tier list, I immediately knew what it was doing. I was like, oh, it's a play on the who has the N-word pass and who doesn't tier list. Granted, Habibi is very different than the N-word, but it is a cultural word amongst Arabic-speaking people and Muslim people. Like, that is a word that's used. Habibi, it means my love. Oh no, don't do that, Habibi. Oh yes, Habibi. You're my Habibi, I'm your Habibi. So yes, it's meant to be a fun way that these Arab content creators can express their Arab culture and be proud of it and happy about it, because it's not like they have massive representation on the platform.
Making a tier list based on race, and nobody has a fucking problem with that. Okay, you have a tier list based on race. Where's the Jewish panel? Where's the Jewish panel? Where at the top it says Jewish. It's a tier list based on Arab to Jew. He's Arab, which is good. That's the best thing you can be on this. That's the best. This is racist.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little crazy.
Say that conveying information to a tier list is not the most effective thing.
I mean, he agrees.
Ethan should understand this principle.
Oh my God.
He did a white slurs tier list with Hassan.
Cracker.
I mean, you know what my take is.
We can't put this as an F.
That is weird. Like, white people do have like you could kind of just like do whatever you want with them. You know what I'm saying? Like, they've been like on top for too long.
A cracker. I mean, that's got to be at least a D, right?
Pale face, motherfucker.
Pale face. I mean, again, I think that's an F. Hog.
So hog is my favorite. I use it all the time.
Him and Hassan feel as though they're white guys, so they felt very comfortable talking about white slurs on their tier list.
I think I'm more white than you. What do you think?
I think I'm white. Like, I'm super white.
Can you understand why Arabs might feel comfortable talking about Arab shit on their tier list, Ethan? You're the white guy.
Skin color?
You think you're more white than Hassan.
I think I'm more white than you.
So yeah, the white guy can say all the things that he wants, like cracker, but the Arabs can't have their tier list.
I would put him also in Arab. I know Turkish people are different.
Notice how they dropped the premise almost immediately that it's about who can say Habibi. And then it's like, Hassan, okay, actually, he's Arab. We fucking love him. He's dope. He's Arab.
Habibi is an Arabic word. That is an Arabic word, Ethan.
Funny about this whole thing is that they say Habibi in Israel. Again, people underestimate just how like mixed Israeli culture is. Like,
we say Habibi in Israel. Yes, Ethan. Another piece of evidence as to why it isn't anti-Semitic.
This is racist.
If you're not Arab or understand Arab culture at all, which is a lot of Americans, and Ethan Klein presents you this tier list and calls it anti-Semitic, you're just gonna eat it up. It's not. Ethan is just proving his location on this tier list under Love Sabra because he doesn't understand Arab culture. There's a lot of Arabs who eat Sabra. There's a lot of people like me who eat Sabra. A lot of the times it's all this shitty hum. in Seattle.
Girlfriend into this conversation.
What's your closing statement
I
here?
think something that's very important to me in bringing back Content Cop is to be fair. I think that was something that was not illustrated in previous Content Cops that I think should have been, and probably wouldn't have left me with so much regret. Ethan deserves all of the credit.
Oh, is that where it stems from? Like his like stances, like where he just doesn't want to stance. It's because he's trying to be fair because of the trauma before or whatever. I think that's where it's stemming from, right? Where he just doesn't want to take a stance on anything anymore.
Criticism that he's getting. I think it's very valid. But I also think, at the end of the day, we should acknowledge that he's human because he is human. And he is in a situation that's making him extremely scared, paranoid.
Hey, you know what? I just kind of, tried to character assassinate him. I told you, like, I didn't tell you any, like, truths or anything like that. But hey, he's human. We should love him. We should a pat on the back, right?
Offensive, sensitive, and I'm sure other features and feelings. In the spirit of Kirk saying that it looks like Ethan could just use a hug, I have challenged some of his most powerful haters to put down the haterade and just say something nice and charitable about him.
It's all love. It's all
I think
love.
he deserves it.
I just wanted to say that I respect that you are genuinely
Oh
yourself.
my God, what a way to
the internet.
shit on
I think a
him.
lot of other people respect you for it as well. I think that's a big reason why people were drawn to your content in the first place. I think that's a lot of the reason why your employees chose to work with you over anyone else.
Ethan, I think it's respectable that you even began this journey to leave behind the anti-SJW crowd and step into a more empathetic worldview. I know it's not easy.
Ethan Klein, I think that when you are being goofy, when you're being silly, when you are being lighthearted, and just having fun with your friends,
Okay.
I think that is when you're at your best. So I'd love to see more of that. That'd be sick.
Did these people say that she should,
because I don't want to sound robotic.
his wife should die?
Sports for Good that I used to watch. I hope that one day gets back to what I remember. You were one of the inspirations for me to start creating content so all
Hey, stop talking about political shit. Get out of our lane.
song. I hope you really hear this and I wish you the best.
I think Ethan Klein rocks a buzz cut pretty good. And I think he's got a good choice of facial hair. I think it's really cool what he did 8 years ago, fighting that frivolous lawsuit. That was pretty fucked up. And fighting it, he changed YouTube for the better. And I thought that was cool because I thought it was like he was fighting for free speech.
I also see the dynamic of Ethan and Neil. I'm like, fuck, like, it's really hard to be a couple online and see people attacking your partner. And it's like, okay, like if you come to their defense, that doesn't always help them, right? Sometimes that makes it worse for them.
And I have been kind of slipping into a very unhealthy place where it's gotten worse and worse, and I get criticized more and more, and I get more defensive and more hold up, a feeling of almost infallibility that I could take anything on.
Where's Hassan's video? Where's Hassan's video? Hassan.
And then when I was criticized for those mistakes, then I would act extremely defensive and nasty and not really processing them in a healthy way.
Listen, I think this is a case of just like a friendship's not working out, man. And again, he didn't really make a stance through the video. What was his stance? His stance is like, look at the actions that I'm making, and that's my stance. And he talks about like being fair and all this crap, and kind of just exiting out of relationships and saying you got to deal with it on your own. Well, bro, you have to realize when you fence it or when you exit out, consequences will happen. Saying nothing is saying something. And I think this is the whole thing of this video, dude. And I could imagine how hurt Ethan and Neela are, even if they show that little ending there or whatever, or it was Hassan's video or anything like that. But I think that showed their true colors and where the relationship stands. And this was just the shot in the head to kill the relationship. But man, that really shows how much political and discourse and everything can really tear people apart. You know what I mean? Especially when it's like stressful moments like this. Or if it was just a case of like, hey, standing up for your friend, and you don't have to take a stance or anything like that, but just say something. But I don't think Idubbbz was going to do that, nor his wife was going to do that. And that was the falling out of the relationship. Saying nothing is saying something. And he just said, I'm not going to say, you could have asked me, but my actions speak louder than my words right now in my life. And that was that. But let me know what you think about it in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. Peace.